Welcome back to the Cleveland Browns Draft and More channel. Remember, if you like this channel, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications for our next one. Today we're going to be talking about the Cleveland Browns and the late round picks, or some people call sleepers. And the first one we will be talking about will be Isaiah Likely, tight end out of Coastal Carolina.
Isaiah Likely, he measures in at 6'4" and 245 pounds. Ran a 4.82 40, 36-inch vertical, 123-inch broad jump, 7.39 on the 3-cone, 15 reps on bench press, and he ended the year with a 93.3 score in PFF, and on the PFF rank of Big Board, he finished off on total of 232. I'm a big fan of Isaiah Likely towards the receiving aspect of the game. The biggest knock on him in the draft, from what I've been saying, is his lack at pass blocking and run blocking, or just blocking in general. Kind of like David Njoku when he entered the draft. When he was a rookie, his biggest con was his blocking. But David obviously has improved tremendously in that. But the good things, in this past season, he only had one drop on a total of 59 balls that he caught. He only had one drop. So pretty much he's able to go up and get any ball that you throw him. He's able to get the big ball over the middle, and he's a big threat on the seams. That's his best aspect of his game, his vertical threat on the seams.
And also, like in college, I don't think he was asked to do a lot of the pass blocking. So he was more lined up in the slot or outside. He never really lined truly up as a tight end. So that's something that he will have to develop. But he is a willing blocker. It's just that I was never asked to do that in college. And he is a big target. Great, like you said, great down the seams. But I think he can be molded into one of them guys that could be a very good blocker and be an excellent tight end. He's got the speed. He's got more football speed than actual 40 speed. His 40 speed might be down, but he can still run by a linebacker and catch a lot of balls.
He's just a playmaker, and anytime you're able to add a playmaker, especially at the position of tight end, you'd hop on that pretty much anytime you can. Then my other guy that I'm a big fan of is Justin Ross. Biggest knock on him is he had surgery for spinal fusion, and that was the biggest thing. He almost had to quit playing football because of that injury alone. So he's going to slide to at least the 4th round, in my opinion. And if he is sitting there, just remember, before all that happened, he was the best receiver on Clemson, and really wasn't the same player since. He obviously was still good, but he just wasn't the same guy. He's 6'4", 205. That's like another Donovan Peoples-Jones, in my opinion. He's got great size. He finished with 140 PFF rank on the big board. He ran a 4.6 440. That's another reason why I think he's going to slip down a little bit, is because now the game has changed. Everybody is wanting that quick receiver. But he's got great hands. He'll go up and get any ball. You turn on his film. He's a highlight film guy. He always has a highlight play. And some of his knocks is his struggles escaping in tight coverage. Like when his DB is like stride for stride with him, he has issues with getting off of his guy or just getting open. And he also struggles with his release off the line.
Now, one that I really like, will probably be there in like the 6th, 7th round, is Jason Poe. He's an offensive guard out of Mercer. And if you turn the tape on, they played Alabama last year, and he's probably the best pole blocking guard in the draft. He's 6 foot, 300 pounds. Some people refer to him as a bowling ball. but he's really good. He does a great job of pulling, and especially he'll fit good in the Browns system because the Browns like to pull especially Teller around so much. So if you bring him in and let him sit behind these guys for 2-3 years to develop, and then he could take over when their contracts are up and be a really good player, I think that's a really good player because there's some NFL teams that are bringing him in as a fullback, which I don't see that. But I would keep him at the guard spot, and he's really good at run blocking especially. You have to teach him a little bit of the pass blocking, I think, but I think he would come pretty good and be an excellent guy. And as a Brad score, that's relative athletic score, that was a 9.47. That's basically grading your athleticism. It's really high. That's out of 10, so it's really high. So he's a very good prospect, and nobody's really been on him until the last month. He's really popped up, and I think he's going to be really excellent and really good.
Guy I got for the 6th round I'm a big fan of. Another guy out of Coastal Carolina, and Jeffrey Gunter. Anytime we're able to add some more depth on the D-line, got to hop on that. And Jeffrey Gunter, 6'4", 258. He ran a 40 time of 4.7. 35 inch for vertical and 122 inch on broad jump. His biggest thing is he's a playmaker on defense. He's always doing something that makes you say, wow. Like this past year, he forced 9 fumbles. Or his career, he forced 9 fumbles, and he also blocked 2 kicks in his career. And he kind of reminds me, obviously he's not near as good, but kind of like a Myles Garrett. Like his pass rush moves are pretty much identical to him. He's just not able to bend around the edge as well as Myles can. But he's got a great stab and swipe. That was the biggest thing I've seen on his film. His stab and swipe, anytime he does that, it seems like he gets past that D tackle or the left or right tackle. But his biggest knocks is his below average awareness. Like, it seems like it takes him a while to seem like where the ball is going, if it's a run, if it's a pass. And he struggles to get away when the tackle will clinch him up. If he don't win the pass rush, it seems like he's not in on the play.
But them are all things that could be coached up on him, and you make him a pass rush specialist, and then you can also work on the run blocking, and after a couple of years, he can be a pretty rotational piece on your D-line. And like he said, you can't have enough depth on your D-line or your offensive line. Them are 2 positions that you really need depth on, and if you can add him, that would be a real plus. And now a guy that I like for a later round, a 5th, 6th round, and I think we're going to need one is a safety spot, because you only signed Ronnie Harrison to a 1-year deal, so you're going to need another safety, and especially when you want to play that 4-2-5, and he wants to play the 5 defensive backs. He likes a lot of 3 safety looks back there, so I think you need another safety. I know you got Richard LeCount, but he kind of struggled last year and had off-the-field issues, so I think you would go out and draft a Smoke Monday. He's a safety out of Auburn. He's 6 foot 1 inches tall. He weighs 207 pounds, but his RAS score is only a 6.46, which is a little low, but he shows great speed on the football field. He's a great deep safety. He can cover the middle of the field for you, but he also can play the box, and he's a sure tackler. He's willing to tackle. He can come up in there and play the box. And I think he does that a little bit better than Ronnie Harrison. So you can bring him in, let him study behind Ronnie Harrison for a year, and then let him be a nice rotational piece for you back there. And he's so versatile because, like I said, he could play up by the line of scrimmage or he could play deep. And I think he's an above-average guy at covering tight ends and running backs. So he's a nice safety at that spot.
Speaking of safeties, I'm a fan of Dane Belton. Just for the sure fact alone that last year he played slot safety all 3 years at Iowa. In the Browns, that's the biggest thing that we utilize in our safeties. Like he brought up with Ronnie Harrison always being in the box. Like having a guy that strictly only played that for 3 years, I think would be good. Now, it's looking like that Belton would probably be anywhere from a 5th to a 7th round pick. But he's not a good run defender. That's why he's going to be falling that far. And he's poor at finishing tackles. But he's very effective in covering the tight ends and running backs, which when you're in the slot, that's normally what your role is. But in 2021, he had a total of 5 interceptions and 7 pass deflections. If we're able to add a playmaker like that in our secondary, that would just take our defense over the top. And even then, I think he could also step in, like either of the 2 safeties we brought up, I think, would sort of be able to step into a Tavier Thomas role. Just be excellent on special teams, then hop in on the later or on the earlier downs, whatever, to sub people out. I think that'd be a great role, especially for a rookie. I think that'd be one of the best spots to walk into.
And you can kind of hide a guy like that on special teams and have him playing special teams until he gets more comfortable and understands the NFL a little bit better, and then you can make him into a rotational piece or a starter even.
Then one of the guys I love the most out of this draft as a sleeper is Damone Clark. He's got very good talent. He was presumed to be one of the top linebackers in this class, but just similar to Justin Ross, he also had a spinal fusion, and it was for a herniated disc. And he's likely to miss the 2022 season, but he's very physical. That was the biggest thing that got him to be known as one of the best linebackers, is his physicality. And his separation from blockers is another thing that set him apart from all the other backers in this class. And the one thing that we missed the most was people on defense is able to stop the run. With the addition of JOK, that's taken our defense to another level towards stopping the run. We've got a lot better, but he is just as good. He only missed a total of 8 tackles. That is absurd. It's like when the Browns had Joe Schobert. He led our team, if not the NFL, in missed tackles. And if you're able to add a linebacker like that does not miss the tackles and is very physical, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. And he's 6'3" and 239. That's Andrew Berry. He loves the fast linebackers. That's why he got Jordan Phillips. He was one of the fastest in that class 2 years ago, and he kind of reminds me of him. And the only thing that people, I think, would not be a fan of Damone Clark is his PFF score was 68.5, and I just think that that's a little, I don't know what you want to call it.
KJ Wright compared himself to Damone Clark. He said he reminded him a lot of himself. Now, a linebacker that I like late in the draft, my sleeper, this is my favorite one of all. I really like James Houston IV, linebacker out of Jackson State. He's 6 foot. He weighs 244 pounds. He had a RAS score of 7.92. And he was in the, if I believe I'm correct on this, East-West Shrine game. He showed great coverage skills. He showed great burst off the edge for a pass rusher. He's another one that you can kind of hide on special teams until you develop him. And I think he's quick enough because his 10-yard split time in the 40 was really good. He had great vertical leap, great broad jump, and he's a great blitzer, and he's a willing blitzer, and he gets to the quarterback. He showed great coverage skills, a lot like I said. He defended a tight end in the corner of the end zone in the East-West Shrine Bowl and did a great job, and a great developmental prospect that you can put on special teams and kind of hide him a little bit and then bring him along, and will be a great piece. Like, he's 244, you could put a little weight on him, and if you wanted to, you could probably get him up to 260 and make him a D-end edge rusher specialist type.
Now, probably my second favorite sleeper is a Chris Hinton, D tackle out of Michigan. He's looking like he's going to be going anywhere from the 6th to 7th round. And that would be a dream for the Browns to be able to get a talent like that in the 7th round. He's 6'4" and 305. He ran a 40 time of 5.28, which in all honesty for a 300-pounder, that's not that bad at all. That's pretty good. And he also had a 31.5-inch vertical, 106-inch on the broad jump. And a big reason why I think the Browns are getting this guy with Andrew Berry, what's one thing that he loves? Is analytics. He does not turn 21 until September. That he loves them young guys like you were talking about a little bit ago. And he attacks the blockers with great leverage. That's one thing that separates him from some of the other prospects in the D tackles. But his reaction time off the snap is below average. A lot of scouts have been knocking him on that and saying if he's not able to have the reaction time in the college level, he's not going to be able to do it in the NFL. But like we talked about a little bit ago, that's coachable. That's what your coaches are paid to do. I think that would be something that we could be able to bring him up to speed on and start improving him in that. And the other thing is he just lacks the explosiveness. But I'd love to have that talent right there. It's especially in the 7th round. And my last prospect I got is Luke Wattenberg. He switched off from center and guard at Washington. It's kind of like that Joel Bitonio of the Browns. We can pretty much play him anywhere, and he'll be productive at it. Speaking of Bitonio, his contract is going to be up. He just signed an extension, about 4 years? So I think that if we'd be able to get him, if not a different guard, I think that would kind of be looking like the replacement of Bitonio. Don't want to say the replacement, but he'd be there for some cushion. And then he's 6'4", 299, ran a 5'2", flat 40, 29.5-inch vertical. Pretty good for a 300-pounder. 113 on the broad jump. He was a 4-year starter at center and left guard. The things he's the best at that I've seen, his quick angle and blocks out of his stance. So being a 300-pounder, say you're being a pulling guard or whatever, being able to get out quick, best thing. And that's the biggest thing that he's been great at. And he gets his hands out early in pass protection.
Okay, now we got a couple draft scenarios here that we'll throw at you. The first one is, if the Browns at 44 take Travis Jones, a D tackle out of Connecticut, do you think that they could come back in the 3rd round and the best available player will be DeMarvin Leal, another D tackle? You think they'll end up taking him?
I think you do. Just for the fact alone, you look at how well that he has revamped our offensive line. You look at how well he has got our DBs. And we stacked up on corners for about, 2 or 3 years in a row. I would not be surprised if he does the same thing on the defensive line. And 2 guys like that would be excellent to have on our defense.
Because you can always kick Leal out to D-end on pass rushing downs, because he did rush the passer at Texas A&M and was really good. Now, the other scenario, if Treylon Burks slides into the 2nd round, do you trade up to get him?
I love that question just because no matter which way you answer it, I think it's logical. I would love to, but the only way I don't think that Barry would do it is if, say, he's got a D tackle prospect that's on the board that's higher than Treylon Burks. I don't think he'll do it.
I would like doing it, just the fact that you go up, you get a receiver to add to that receiver room to help you out, a good sure-handed guy like that. We talked about him on the last episode. But I think that Barry don't got a whole lot of draft capital, so I don't see him really moving. If anything, he's going to trade back, I think, if he does anything. But we'll see. I hope you enjoyed this. We will be back with you after the draft. And remember, if you like the channel, hit that subscribe button. See you next time.